We three wary isolators had been invited to Zoom with each other in the hopes of staving off the boredom. I must admit, I was skeptical at first as Zooming with two others I didn't know. The names were David and Trish. David was silver-haired and held a glint of wisdom in his eyes, and Trish had a wonderful voice that carried subtle notes of music. Me, I was just a bearded man looking for poetry and company. I was to speak first and gave David and Trish a little story set in a shop. Having worked in a shop in a previous life, I shuddered to think what it was like working in one at a time like this. But I also remembered the interesting interactions with customers. Confessions of a checkout operative. You enter as I guard the till. No mask, no gloves, and yet in me there stirs a fire. Not a fever fire, of course, but the fire of burning love. You touch a bag of salad and put it back in its spot. You smell a red apple, your nose nearly touching. You stroke your pretty face, no care for those features. But when you come to my till, you stand far away, and while I pack your bag, you grimace with disdain. And to finish, nothing more than a bye, followed by a cough. I then told of a recent incident that took place in a flat that was between boyfriend and girlfriend and a beloved hanky. I think what made me speak it was the thoughts I had of how couples were coping at this time. If you think about it, we tend to spend more time at work than we do with a loved one. My blue and white checkered hanky. As Hancock informed doctors and nurses about a quip, an urge to sneeze arrived. My fingertips probed a jean pocket, expecting my blue and white checkered hanky, only to find the nose rag had vanished. Before I knew, the sneeze verged on bursting out. I covered my lips and caught the bugger in time. After the sneeze had ceased, the question arose, where on earth had my trusty hanky gone? But then, as sharp as a cough, it came to me. The villain was Hannah, my darling other half. The lazy harpy rested nicely in bed. Of course, she failed to admit stealing my hanky, and she had the nerve to roll her eyes at me. Betrayed, I fled the room to begin my search. For hours I searched, behind curtains and cushions, under tables and chairs, all the rooms except the bedroom, saved till last. Those guilty eyes revealed the crime. But what was that in my rear jean pocket? To both my pleasure and anguish, I found my misplaced blue and white checkered hanky. As though having discovered nothing, I ambled to bed and lay next to my sweet cherub. The happy smacking of hands erupted at 8, prompting Hannah to rise and join the applause, and prompting me into something wicked. I quickly slipped the hanky under her pillow. Once the clapping ended, I scurried away. Later, the mistress of night touched my eyes, so I went to bed, removed my timekeeper, and pulled open the top drawer of my dresser. Folded neatly into a perfect square, my trusty blue and white checkered hanky. Suddenly, her shadow loomed over me. Oh, how lovely. You found it then, did you? Ashamed, I grabbed the hanky and wiped my nose. It was David's turn to speak. He spoke of his thoughts about how an everyday job can become very important indeed. The postmen and postwomen are delivering 6 days a week to every house in the land. He said that a basic service must continue and that it would be nice for the postmen and postwomen to get recognition in these trying times.
The postman. For many years, we postmen were concerned about being bitten on the leg by a dog being spurned. We often heard a large, growling, menacing sound, accompanied by yelps, woofs, followed by a pounding hound. Yes, I'm certain that I could still run right away before my trousers I was wearing began to fray. However, as soon as the coast was somewhat clear, along came a virus which nobody holds dear. It's a brand new problem to add to our daily grind and presents many obstacles to challenge our minds. Has the house a letterbox big enough for the mail? Or perhaps something different which would still entail? And what's going on in all the places I visit? Many things which people choose not to exhibit. Divorces, rows and financial distress, messy pots, dirty toilets and a discarded dress. But perhaps it's children playing where they all get along, or watching on YouTube and joining in a song. It's life's rich pattern turned asunder in a trice, but our job is to deliver, and for that we can't think twice. So spare a thought for our daily chore and give us a wave from a safe distance and perhaps a roar. Through rain, wind and snow, with a deadly virus near at hand, a vital service is brought to every home in the land.
After he was finished, he spoke of a simple plea that once this crisis was over, we would remember how we came together and performed good deeds never to be forgotten, and would remember those that passed away. So many people had departed, and all should be remembered.
Looking forward, when the history of this period is written, I hope that my very modest composition will tell of love, heroism, and every good deed, of togetherness, human spirit, and selfless need, of joining as one in a common fight to defy a virus with a deadly bite. And those that have sadly passed away, the young, the old, and many others who will not see a new day, we salute them all, every one that perished, their names that forever will be cherished. But with resurgent hope, our spirit was not broken. We stood and cried, the world has spoken.
He paused then and looked at us both. This wise sage then told us about the heroic paperboy who had been doing the job for over 20 years with a determination that he would never be stopped, even by a virus. Many of his customers were socially isolated, and a daily newspaper was something they looked forward to help them through each day.
Dave the paperboy. There was a senior paperboy called Dave who turned out to be astonishingly brave. He delivered his rounds with enormous leaps and bounds and gave everybody he met a huge wave.
David then spoke about two brothers who ran the local convenience shop. They were sourcing goods from wholesalers and getting up at 5 a.m. to queue to get them loaded into their van. The shop was open 7 days a week, and no, they hadn't raised prices either to profiteer from the situation.
My local convenience store. Our local convenience store is run by brothers Bob and Jack, two people who these days are not known to slack. Every day they are up in the morning by 5, getting provisions and stores for their shop to thrive. Fresh and tinned the produce keeps coming. Not everything can be bought, so there may be some shortcomings, but never mind as they face another day. Customers popping in to buy, guided by the signs that say one way. We salute their endeavours to keep us all supplied, and at the moment, looks like they will remain fully occupied.
Next to speak was Trish. Her inspiration came from her recent experience of caring for an elderly lady. The year prior, the lady had fallen, and without outside help, she would have been unable to stay at home and would have ended up in an old people's home. Trish said she had first met the lady when she was very poorly and had practically given up.
The neighbour. I dropped a letter through her door. Hi, can I help? I'm your neighbour from number 10. Leave a card in the window. Red, I'm okay. Green, can I have a hand? I look up and see a green card. Thank you, dear neighbour, that would be kind. Bread, milk, cheese, a newspaper, please. I had never noticed before the elderly lady next door. To the shop I go, soon on my return, with the fruits of my labour. I went back to my neighbour, glad to see the streets all so quiet. Oops, spoken too soon. Now and again I see someone breaking the rules. How could they be such fools? A knock on the door, from a safe distance I wait to see my neighbour come through the gate. A wave, a smile, a thank you she speaks. Picking up the bag, off she retreats. How strange, I've never noticed my neighbour before. Too busy rushing in, rushing out, too busy to notice, too busy, too out and about. Abigail is her name, from Yorkshire she doth hail. In nursing she took part, until Frederick came along and won her heart. They enjoyed 80 years and 7, until Frederick was called to heaven. Never blessed with children of their own, she now finds herself all alone. Oh, but for this slower pace of life, with all the struggle and strife, we find we are pulling together, helping hands, time to care. So to everyone I ask, take a lesson from this story. Look out for your neighbour. Look to do a simple task. Just remember hand gel and mask.
Trish then pondered on how life had changed and how it may never be the same again. We have taken so much for granted, she said, but humour helps us get through even the darkest times.
Before disinfectant and sanitizer gel. In the days before disinfectant and sanitizer gel, when going to Costa was the norm, enjoying a Mackie D or an ice cream by the town hall, giving no thought to disinfectant and sanitizer gel. New words, new phrases, I am at a loss. Stay in, stay safe, lockdown, self-isolation. We look to Boris, he is the boss. Now I find myself in the most challenging type of routine that often leaves me feeling I'm in a mental asylum. Frustration, doing the same thing over and over again. And don't forget the disinfectant and sanitizer gel. Hankies, mask, gel in pocket, off out I venture, to the chemist, to the post office, to the supermarket. Don't get too close. Bewildered at this new life, I find myself listening to radio or even worse, daytime TV. The news channel, a must, wet markets, aeroplanes, foreign countries, these bother me. In them I have no trust. The golden channel, at least a laugh can be had. Only Fools and Horses, Rodney, Del Boy, You Dipstick, Mange too. Or what about open all hours, porridge or the like? All helps the frustration in this, the new slow pace of life. My life wasn't exactly orientated around vacuums and dusters, and now gel and disinfectant play a part. Time to bake a cake, biscuits or tart, more hand washing, disinfectant and gel. What to cook? No flour, no pasta, no fresh fruit. It will be a disaster. Oh, how I long for the days before disinfectant and sanitizer gel. I'm sitting here in the garden, having a right o' laugh, watching the neighbour's cat in my garden, having a pee and more, and so deposits it under the old apple tree. Well, it would be rude to keep it, so I sling it back. Over the fence it flies. Oh, quick, back inside. Don't forget to wash hands to the tune of Happy Birthday, I sing with pride. Oh, how I long for a day without worrying about disinfectant and sanitizer gel.
Trish's thoughts turned next to what was happening, and she said these well-known words often came to her mind. Yesterday is history, tomorrow a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why we call it the present. Beautifully, she ended our session.
Together in lockdown, we are at war with an invisible enemy, something that is trying to tear us apart, destroy our world. We are stuck indoors, isolated from family and friends, bored, frightened, lonely, sad. Staying at home is the only way to defeat this enemy. We are all playing an important part in this battle. We will do this together. Stay at home, stay safe. Together we can. The enemy, COVID-19, it has slowed the world down. We now have time. Time to watch our children grow, time to play together, time to learn together, Together, we see our family and friends on screen. We are living through a part of history that one day our grandchildren will study, COVID-19. They will learn how the rainbow became a symbol of hope. They will be told how we all came together to battle this war, how individuals brought out their sewing machines to make scrubs, how our amazing NHS kept going, saved lives whilst putting theirs at risk, how doctors and nurses came out of retirement to help together, how every week we came together to clap for our wonderful NHS, our carers, our frontline workers. Remember, together we can. Together we will make a difference.